Hello, friends. You're watching The Night Watchman, where every day you'll hear a brand new horror story that will send chills down your spine. But to keep bringing you these terrifying tales, we need your love and support. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's begin the story. I never thought a simple job at Dollar Tree would turn my life into a nightmare. My name is Emily Carter, and I grew up in the sleepy town of Milford, Ohio, a place where everyone knows your business. And the biggest excitement is the annual county fair. It's one of those Midwest towns with wide cornfields stretching out forever, a couple of fast food joints, and a strip mall that's seen better days. The Dollar Tree there, tucked between a nail salon and a laundromat, was where I started working right after high school in 2018. I needed cash for community college, and stocking shelves with cheap knickknacks seemed harmless enough. Little did I know that store had secrets buried deeper than the bargain bins. It all started with the backstory I'd heard from the old-timers. Milford wasn't always so quiet. Back in the 1950s, the land where the strip mall now stands was part of an old farm owned by the Hargrove family. They were reclusive folks, the kind who kept to themselves and whispered about in town. Legend had it that Elias Hargrove, the patriarch, went mad after his wife died in childbirth. He claimed the baby wasn't his, that some shadow from the fields had cursed them. One night in 1957, Elias snapped. He locked his 3 kids in the barn and set it ablaze. The fire department found charred bones, but Elias vanished. Search parties combed the woods for weeks, but he was gone, like the earth swallowed him up. The farm sat abandoned for decades until developers bulldozed it in the 90s to build the mall. Folks said the ground was tainted, that strange things happened there ever since. Crop circles in the nearby fields, animals acting weird, and whispers of shadows moving at night. I dismissed it as small-town gossip. After all, I was 19, practical, and more worried about paying rent than ghost stories. My first shift was uneventful. The manager, Mr. Reynolds, a balding guy in his 50s with a perpetual coffee stain on his shirt, showed me the ropes. Stock the aisles, smile at customers, and don't mind the closing shifts, he said with a wink. The store's got its quirks, but you'll get used to it. Quirks? I thought he meant the flickering fluorescent lights or the wonky AC that hummed like a dying bee. I worked days at first, folding greeting cards and arranging plastic toys. Customers were the usual mix: harried moms with kids in tow, elderly folks pinching pennies, and the occasional drifter buying cheap snacks. But then came the night shifts. Dollar Tree closes at 9 p.m., and cleanup takes another hour. I volunteered for them because they paid an extra buck per hour. My first solo close was on a rainy Tuesday in October. The store felt emptier than usual, the aisles echoing with the patter of rain on the roof. As I mopped the floor near the seasonal section, Halloween decorations were up, with fake cobwebs and plastic skeletons. I heard a faint scratching, like nails on cardboard. I froze, mop in hand, listening. It came from the back stockroom, where we kept overflow inventory. "Hello," I called out, my voice sounding small. No answer. Probably a mouse, I told myself. But as I pushed open the door, the scratching stopped. The room was dim, lit by a single bulb swinging gently, though there was no breeze. Boxes were stacked high, labeled with mundane things like party supplies and cleaning aisle. Nothing out of place. I shook it off and finished up, locking the doors at 10 p.m. sharp. The next night it happened again. Scratching, but louder this time, accompanied by a whisper. I couldn't make out words, just a low murmur, like someone talking through a wall. I grabbed my phone, flashlight on, and crept to the stockroom. The bulb was out now, plunging the space into darkness. As I swept the light around, something caught my eye. A box on the top shelf, tilted oddly. It was unmarked, dusty, like it had been there forever. Curiosity got the better of me. I dragged a step stool over and pulled it down. Inside were old newspapers, yellowed with age. The top one was from 1957. Hargrove Farm tragedy, father suspected in arson murder. There were photos of the burned barn, skeletal remains in the rubble. Underneath, a child's drawing, crude crayon lines of a family, but the father figure was scribbled out in black, with red eyes added. A chill ran down my spine. Who put this here? Mr. Reynolds? A prank? I shoved the box back and left, heart pounding. From then on, the quirks escalated. During days, it was subtle. Items misplaced, like a toy doll appearing in the food aisle, its eyes following you. Customers complained too. An old lady named Mrs. Jenkins swore she saw a shadow dart between the shelves. Like a man, tall and thin, she said, clutching her purse. I laughed it off, but inside doubt crept in. Nights were worse. The scratching became knocking, rhythmic, like someone trapped. I checked the stockroom. Nothing. Then the whispers grew clearer. Names. Emily, at first, faint as wind. How did it know my name? I confided in my co-worker Jake, a lanky guy from Cleveland who worked weekends. You're imagining things, when he said. This place is old. Pipes make noise. But even he looked uneasy. One evening, as the sun set, I found a note slipped under the employee break room door. Scrawled in childish handwriting, "He watches from the fields." My blood ran cold. I showed it to Mr. Reynolds the next day. He paled, then forced a laugh. "Kids messing around, don't worry." But his eyes darted to the window, overlooking the parking lot backed by cornfields. That night, closing alone again, the power flickered. The store plunged into semi-darkness, emergency lights casting eerie glows. The knocking started. Boom, boom, from the stockroom. I grabbed a flashlight from under the counter and approached, phone ready to call 911. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, boxes were toppled, forming a path to the back wall. There, scratched into the paint, "Elias returns." I backed out, slamming the door, and ran to the front. But as I reached the registers, I heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, coming from aisle 7, the toy section. I hid behind the counter, peeking over. A shadow stretched long across the floor, humanoid but distorted, like it was hunched. It moved slowly, knocking items off shelves. A bag of chips, a bottle of shampoo. Crash, crash. The air grew cold, my breath visible. The whispers returned. "Join us, Emily." The fire wasn't enough. I stifled a scream. Was this Elias? The madman from the farm? Had he never left? Panicking, I texted Jake. "Help, something in store." No reply. The shadow paused at the end of the aisle, turning toward me. I could make out a silhouette, tall, emaciated, with what looked like burned skin. It stepped forward and I bolted for the exit. The doors were locked, from the inside. Keys in my pocket, but my hands shook too much. The footsteps quickened. I fumbled, unlocked, and burst into the rainy night, sprinting to my car. Tires screeching, I sped home. Glancing in the rear view, nothing followed, or so I thought. The next morning I called out sick, Mr. Reynolds' phone sounding frantic. "Emily, you left the store unlocked. Inventory's messed up." I apologized, but didn't mention the shadow. Instead, I researched. At the Milford Library, I dug through microfiche. More on the Hargrove fire. Elias's body was never found. But witnesses claimed seeing him in the fields post-tragedy, muttering about shadow children calling him back. One article mentioned a survivor, a baby girl Elias's wife birthed before dying. She was adopted out, renamed. The name, Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds' mother? It clicked. He knew. The store was on Hargrove land. Maybe Elias's spirit lingered, tied to his bloodline. I confronted him that afternoon at the store. It was slow, just a few customers browsing. The notes, the shadows. "Is it your grandfather?" I whispered in his office. He sighed, aging 10 years. "I thought it was over. My mom told me stories, warned me not to come back to Milford. But I needed work. The store, it's like a magnet. Elias wants his family back. The fire didn't kill the kids. He did, but their spirits trapped him here. Every few years, he stirs, looking for blood." He showed me a scar on his arm, burn mark from childhood. He tried once. Now with you, maybe because you're young, like they were. That night, we decided to end it. Mr. Reynolds had an idea. Burn the old box from the stockroom, the one with newspapers and the drawing. "Symbolic," he said. "Release them." Jake joined us, skeptical but armed with a flashlight. We closed early, lights off to avoid attention. The stockroom felt heavier. air thick with dust and something metallic, like blood. We found the box easily. It was in the center, as if waiting. Mr. Reynolds doused it in lighter fluid from the automotive aisle. As he struck the match, the knocking erupted, frantic all around us. Flames licked up, illuminating the room. Shadows danced on walls, but not from the fire. Figures emerged, small, child-sized, with glowing eyes. "Papa," they whispered. Elias's silhouette materialized in the corner, charred and twisted. He lunged at Mr. Reynolds, claws outstretched. Jake screamed, swinging his flashlight. It connected with a thud, but passed through like smoke. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. Dollar Tree sells them cheap, and blasted it at the apparition. White foam dispersed the shadow momentarily. Mr. Reynolds chanted something, an old prayer his mom taught him, while the box burned to ash. The children advanced, their forms flickering. "Join the family," they cooed, reaching for me. Cold fingers brushed my skin, burning like frostbite. I yelped, backing into shelves. Boxes tumbled, revealing a hidden panel in the wall. Old wood from the original barn. Mr. Reynolds kicked it open. Inside, a small chamber with bones. Tiny, child-sized. "Oh, God," Jake muttered. Elias roared, a sound like crackling fire, and charged. But as the box's ashes settled, the children faded, pulling him with them. "No!" his voice echoed, distorting into silence. The room warmed. The knocking stopped. We stood there panting, the smell of smoke lingering. Police came later. Arson report. But Mr. Reynolds took the blame, saying it was an accident. The bones, buried properly in the town cemetery with a quiet service. The store closed for renovations, but I quit. Moved to Columbus, got a desk job. Sometimes in quiet moments I hear scratching, but it's just my imagination, right? Years passed, I got married, had a kid. Life normalized. Until last week. A package arrived, no sender. Inside, a Dollar Tree toy doll, eyes scratched out, and a note, "Family reunion soon." I burned it, but the whispers, they're back. Story 2. I never believed in curses until the night I found the doll at Dollar Tree. My name's Jake Harlan, and I live in Milford, a forgotten speck of a town off Route 15 in central Pennsylvania. It's the kind of place where the cornfields stretch forever under gray skies, and the Dollar Tree on Milford Pike is the only store for miles that doesn't charge an arm and a leg. That Tuesday in October 2025, I was there grabbing cheap batteries and a six-pack of off-brand soda after a brutal shift at the lumber mill. The place smelled like stale popcorn and bleach, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets overhead. That's when I saw it. A porcelain doll tucked on a bottom shelf in the toy aisle, half buried under faded Halloween decorations. No price tag, no box, just this creepy little thing with cracked white skin, glass eyes the color of dirty ice, and a faded pink dress stitched with yellowed lace. Its hair was real human strands, matted black, tied in uneven pigtails. Something about it screamed wrong, but it was $1. I laughed it off, tossed it in my basket for my niece's birthday prank. "Perfect for scaring the kid," I muttered. Checkout girl was new. Skinny tattooed arms, name tag reading Brittany. She scanned it funny like the barcode wouldn't read. "Where'd you find this?" she asked, voice low. "Back aisle." "Why?" She glanced around, then whispered, "Don't buy it. Throw it out. That thing, it's from the back room. We don't sell those." I smirked. "Dollar doll? Come on." Her eyes widened. "Last guy who took one, Milford PD found his truck wrapped around a tree on Black Hollow Road. No skid marks. Doll in the passenger seat, smiling. Urban legend bullshit. I paid and left. Doll riding shotgun home. That night, I wrapped it in newspaper and stashed it on my kitchen table. Passed out watching Steelers highlights. Didn't dream. Next morning, coffee brewing, I unwrapped it to inspect. The doll's head had tilted overnight. Impossible, since I'd set it straight. Those eyes followed me as I poured my mug, shook it off as a trick of the light. Work called, I shoved it in a drawer and headed out. Milford's backstory is grim. Founded in 1847 by Elias Crow, a Quaker preacher who went mad after his family's wagon flipped into Black Hollow Creek during a flood. Locals say he blamed the Hollow Ones, spirits of drowned settlers who clawed up from the mud. Elias built a doll factory in the 1850s, crafting guardian angels for grieving parents. Sold thousands until 1863, when Union soldiers torched it during a skirmish. Elias vanished, but rumors swirled. He drowned himself in the creek, cursing the dolls with his dying breath. They watch, they wait, they take what's owed. Dollar Tree sits on that old factory site. Asphalt parking lot covers the foundation. They've dug up porcelain shards during remodels. Brittany's warning nagged me now. Still, I Googled it at lunch. Nothing but ghost tour blogs. Laughed harder. That evening, back home in my trailer off Quarry Road, the drawer was open. Doll on the table again, pigtails neater, dress smoothed. No one had keys but me. Heart skipped. I grabbed a beer, told myself wind or raccoons. Locked the drawer double time. Sleep came rough. Around 2 a.m., a clatter jolted me awake. Kitchen light flickering like a dying bulb. Doll on the floor, one arm twisted backward. I snatched it up, furious, and chucked it into the trash bin outside. Slammed the lid. Back to bed. Dawn broke cold. Frost on the windows. Trash truck hadn't come yet. Doll was back on the table when I woke. Pristine, eyes gleaming. Now I was pissed and scared. Called Brittany from the store's number on my receipt. Jake, you took it anyway? Yeah, it's following me. What the hell? Silence. Then, Elias Crow's curse. Dolls don't stay gone. Burn it. But not here. Black Hollow Creek. Salt the ashes, or it'll take you like the others. Others? Check the obits. Milford Gazette. Guys like you, buying junk from the back room. Hung up, searched online. 3 hits in 2 years. Local men, single like me, dead in accidents. Tom Riley, 34, truck in a ditch near the creek. Doll parts in the wreckage. Mike Voss, 41, hanged in his barn. Suicide, but no note. And Pete Lang, 28, drowned in his bathtub. All shopped at Dollar Tree days before. Coincidence? My trailer felt smaller. I drove to Black Hollow that afternoon, winding dirt road through skeletal oaks, creek below like black ink. No one around. Piled dry leaves, doused the doll in lighter fluid from my glove box. Lit it. Flames ate the dress first, then plastic melted. Porcelain cracking like bones. Smell hit like burning hair. Eyes burst with a pop. I salted the ashes with a McDonald's shaker I'd swiped, whispered a prayer for good measure. Felt stupid but relieved. Dumped remnants in the creek. Watched them sink, home by dusk. Passed out early, nightmare-free. Thursday's shift dragged. Buzz at the mill. Another accident. Foreman slipped into the chipper. Messy. Not me, but shook everyone. Clocked out early. Grabbed takeout from Dino's Pizza in town. Trailer dark when I pulled up. Unlocked door creaked open on its own. Inside the air was thick, like wet earth. Table empty. But in the corner by the fridge, a shadow. Small. Hunched. Gone when I flicked the light. You're imagining shit, I told myself. Chowed pizza, TV blaring. Midnight, lights out. That's when the whispering started. Faint at first, like radio static. Then words. Jake. Ode. Watch. Bolted up. Nothing. Heart hammering. Grabbed my .22 from the closet. Old hunting rifle. Swept the trailer. Empty. Lay back. Rifle across my chest. Whispers grew. Childlike voice. Girlish. From the walls. Play with me, Uncle Jake. You took me home. Doll's eyes flashed in my mind. Impossible. Shot upright again. Scratch at the window. Tiny nails on glass. Outside, under porch light, pigtails swaying in the wind. No body, just head, grinning from the dirt. I fired, glass shattered, head gone. Slept with lights on. Friday, no work. Mill shut for investigation. Drove to Dollar Tree at dawn. Brittany on shift, pale as the doll. Told you, she said, no hello. Elias made them from the drown. Hollow ones inside. Buy one, it picks you. Wants your hollow too. Backstory poured out. Elias didn't just drown. He was pulled under by his own creations. Factory records, burned but oral history, said he infused dolls with creek mud and blood from volunteers. Vagrants he drowned for souls. Civil War ended it, but shards stayed buried. Dollar Tree digs unearthed them. Backroom sorts cursed stock into bins. Employees know, sell at own risk. Why me? I demanded. She shrugged. Random. Or maybe you look like Elias. Tall, dark hair. It latched. Gave me a brown paper bag. Rock salt, iron nails, black hollow ritual, full one, stake the heart, bury under oak with your blood. Paid for it with shaking hands. Drove to the creek again. No doll remnants visible. Dug anyway. Found the skull first. Porcelain gleaming. Full body below. Intact. Arms outstretched. How? Heart pounding, I hammered nails through its chest with a tire iron. Sliced my palm. Dripped blood over it. Salted heavy. Buried deep under the oldest oak, whispering. Stay down. Exhausted triumph home. Collapsed. Slept like dead. Saturday normalcy. Mill reopened. I worked doubles. No whispers. Sunday football with buddies at the VFW. Beers, wings, laughs. Monday routine. Doll forgotten. Until Tuesday. Exactly 1 week since purchase. Phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number. Hello? Static. Then, Uncle Jake. Playtime. Dropped it. Outside, coyotes howling unnatural. Screams, almost human. Rifle ready, I checked windows. Porch empty. But the creek, I could smell it. Mud and rot seeping through floorboards. Morning light brought worse. Kitchen sink clogged. Pulled hair, black strands. My coffee mug tipped over unbidden, forming letters in the spill. O-W-E-D. Brittany wasn't at Dollar Tree. Quit sign on door. Called her cell. Voicemail. Her apartment in town. Door ajar when I arrived. Inside chaos. Furniture smashed. Walls clawed. On the bed, Brittany's body. Throat torn. Porcelain shard in her hand. Doll's eye staring from her palm. Cops came. Animal attack, they ruled. Bullshit. I didn't mention the doll. That night, trailer siege. Whispers everywhere. You burned me, nailed me, but hollow ones rise. Floor vents rattled. Something crawled up. Small hands prying boards. I shot the floor. Shrieks echoed. Blood welled, black and thick. Grabbed the salt bag, sprinkled circles. It paused. Drove to Black Hollow at midnight. Rifle, salt, gasoline. Oak tree split. Roots exposed, grave empty. Doll gone. Creek bubbled, unnatural ripples. Hours passed in vigil. Dawn crept. No doll. Relief? Then footsteps. Tiny wet slaps on the road. It emerged from the tree line. Doll, whole, dripping mud. Walked jerky like puppet strings. Eyes locked on me. Raced forward, gasoline can out. Doused it. Lit match. Flames roared. Screams pierced the air. Not dolls, but mine as heat singed my arms. It thrashed. Porcelain melting, but reformed in the fire. Limbs elongating. Face twisting into Elias Crow's. Bearded, wild-eyed. Take what's owed, it howled, voice gravel. I fired the .22 point blank. Head exploded. Body collapsed, smoldering. Creek surged then. Water rising fast. Black tendrils like arms pulling me under. Fought, rifle sinking, lungs burning. Surfaced gasping. Dragged to shore by roots? No. Hallucination? Crawled home. Collapsed. Weeks blurred. Therapy, pills. Milford whispered, PTSD. No more Dollar Tree runs. Walmart now. Trailer blessed by a priest who laughed it off. But nights. Scratches resume. Whispers. Uncle Jake. Family now. Mirror shows it, sometimes. Pigtails in my reflection's hair. Creek calls in dreams. Brittany's obit hit the Gazette. Doll fragments at scene. Fourth in 2 years. I check the back room online. New Dollar Tree manager denies cursed stock. Lies. Last night, drawer opened itself. Doll inside, smaller now. Newborn size. Eyes mine. Hollow ones multiply. Story 3. I never thought a simple trip to the Dollar Tree would change my life forever. My name is Emily Carter, and I live in a quiet suburb of Akron, Ohio. It's the kind of place where everyone knows your business, but nobody really cares enough to ask. I was 28 at the time, working as a barista at a local coffee shop downtown. My days were a blur of steaming lattes and forced smiles, but nights were when the emptiness hit hardest. My fiancé, Jake, had left me 6 months earlier, packed his bags after a fight about nothing, and drove off to Chicago with some girl from his office. I was still picking up the pieces, drowning in debt from our shared apartment and the wedding deposits we'd lost. To cope, I'd started these late-night errands. The Dollar Tree on Market Street was open until 10 p.m., and it became my ritual. Cheap snacks, bargain bin candles, maybe a puzzle to kill time. It was mindless, therapeutic. The store was always dimly lit, with flickering fluorescent lights that hummed like distant bees. The aisles were crammed with plastic toys, expired candy, and seasonal junk that nobody needed but everyone bought. The cashier, an older woman named Rita with a smoker's cough and faded tattoos, barely looked up from her phone. It felt safe, anonymous. That night in October 2023 was no different. At first, the leaves were turning, crunching under my sneakers as I parked my beat-up Honda Civic in the nearly empty lot. A chill wind whipped through the air, carrying the faint scent of rain. I grabbed my reusable bag, trying to be eco-friendly even on a budget, and headed inside. The automatic doors slid open with a weary groan, and the familiar bell chimed. Rita nodded vaguely as I passed, her eyes glued to a TikTok video. I wandered the aisles, picking up random items. A pack of Halloween napkins on clearance, some off-brand chips, a scented candle that smelled like artificial pine. But something felt off. The store seemed quieter than usual, the hum of the lights louder in the silence. No other customers, which was odd for a Friday evening. I shrugged it off. Maybe the football game at the high school had drawn the crowd. In the back aisle, near the cleaning supplies, I found it. An old-fashioned music box. It was tucked behind a stack of dusty mop heads as if someone had hidden it there. The box was wooden, intricately carved with swirling vines and what looked like tiny faces peering out from the leaves. It didn't belong in a Dollar Tree. It screamed antique shop, maybe even something from an estate sale. The price tag said $1, handwritten in faded ink. I turned the crank, and a tinkling melody played, a haunting tune I couldn't place, like a forgotten lullaby. Curiosity got the better of me. I bought it, along with my other junk, and Rita rang it up without a word. As I left, I swear I heard her mutter something under her breath, but the wind outside drowned it out. Back home in my cramped apartment on Elm Street, I set the music box on my kitchen table. The place was a mess. Takeout boxes from the Thai place down the block, unopened mail piling up. I wound the crank again, letting the melody fill the room. It was soothing at first, but as it played, I felt a strange unease. The faces on the box seemed to shift in the lamplight, their eyes following me. I laughed it off. Too many horror movies on Netflix. That night, I dreamed of a woman. She was dressed in old-fashioned clothes like from the 1920s, with a high collar and pinned-up hair. She stood in a field, turning the crank of a similar music box, her face twisted in sorrow. Whispers echoed around her. "Find me. Release me." I woke up sweating, the melody still ringing in my ears. The box was on my nightstand. Had I moved it there? I couldn't remember. The next day, I tried to ignore it. Work was busy. The morning rush of commuters demanding their caffeine fixes kept my mind occupied. But during my break, I Googled the melody on my phone. Nothing came up. No matches on Shazam, no YouTube clips. Weird, but not impossible. Maybe it was some obscure folk tune. After my shift, I stopped by the library on Main Street. Akron's public library isn't fancy, but it has a decent local history section. I asked the librarian, Mrs. Hargrove, if she knew anything about antique music boxes in the area. She adjusted her glasses and thought for a moment. Well, there was that old story about the Whitaker family. They owned a farm out near Cuyahoga Falls back in the early 1900s. Tragic tale. The daughter, Amelia Whitaker, went missing. Folks said she was obsessed with a family heirloom, a music box her father brought back from Europe. Legend has it she vanished one night, and the box was never found. Why do you ask? My stomach dropped. Amelia Whitaker. The name echoed in my head like the dream whispers. I thanked her and left, my heart pounding. Back home, I examined the box again. Inside the lid, faint scratches formed letters. A W, Amelia Whitaker. I should have thrown it away right then. But curiosity is a curse. That evening, I wound it up once more. The melody played, and this time I heard voices woven into the notes, faint like static on an old radio. Buried, forgotten, find me. Sleep evaded me. Around 2 a.m., I heard scratching at my door. Not knocking, scratching like nails on wood. I froze in bed, listening. It stopped, but when I checked, there were faint marks on the paint. Probably a stray cat, I told myself, but deep down, I knew better. The following morning, I decided to dig deeper. I drove out to Cuyahoga Falls, about 20 minutes south of Akron. The Whitaker farm was long gone, replaced by a strip mall, but I found an old cemetery nearby, tucked behind a wooded area off Route 8. Rows of weathered headstones overgrown with ivy. I wandered through, searching for the name. There it was, Amelia Whitaker, 1898 to 1917. Beloved daughter lost too soon. No body mentioned, just lost. As I stood there, a cold breeze rustled the leaves, and I swear I heard the melody again, faint but unmistakable. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from an unknown number. You have it, bring it back. Panic surged through me. Who could know? I hadn't told anyone. I raced home, the box waiting on my table like an accusation. That night, the dreams intensified. Amelia appeared closer, her face pale and pleading. She showed me flashes, a dark basement, a hidden compartment, screams echoing. They buried me alive, to silence the curse. I woke screaming, my sheets soaked. The scratching returned, louder, from inside the walls now. I grabbed a flashlight and checked the apartment. Nothing. But in the living room, the music box was open, playing on its own. Desperate, I called my best friend Sarah, who lived in Cleveland. She thought I was losing it from the breakup stress. You need to get rid of that thing, or see a therapist. But she agreed to come over the next day. Sarah arrived around noon, her SUV pulling up with a honk. She's the practical type, works as a nurse at the Cleveland Clinic. No nonsense. I showed her the box, told her everything. She listened, skeptical, then wound it up. The melody played, but no voices for her. It's creepy, sure, but probably just your imagination. Let's research this Amelia chick. We spent the afternoon online and at the library again. Buried in old newspaper archives from the Akron Beacon-Journal, we found articles. Amelia Whitaker, 19, disappeared in October 1917. Her father, Elias, was a wealthy importer who dealt in curiosities from abroad. Rumors swirled. Amelia had been acting strange, claiming the music box was cursed, brought from a gypsy camp in Romania. It supposedly trapped souls or something superstitious. Elias denied it, but after her vanishing, he sold the farm and moved away. The box was listed as missing too. One clipping mentioned a farmhand, Josiah Reed, who claimed to have seen Elias dragging Amelia to the basement the night she disappeared. Josiah was fired and labeled a drunk. No investigation followed. Elias had influence. This is nuts, Sarah said. But if it's real, maybe the box is connected to her spirit or whatever. That evening, as we ate pizza, the power flickered. The music box started playing again, unwound. Sarah's eyes widened. Okay, that's not normal. We decided to return to the cemetery at dusk, box in hand. Maybe burying it there would end it. The drive felt eternal, the sky bruising purple with storm clouds. As we parked near the woods, rain began to patter. The cemetery was eerie in the twilight, headstones casting long shadows. We found Amelia's marker and dug a small hole with a garden trowel from my trunk. As I placed the box in, a voice whispered behind us. No, not yet. We spun around. A figure stood at the tree line, an old man in ragged clothes, his face hidden by a hood. You shouldn't meddle, he rasped. Sarah screamed. I grabbed her arm and we ran back to the car. He didn't follow, but as we sped away, I saw him in the rear view, standing motionless. Back home, we barricaded the door. The scratching returned, now from the ceiling. Sarah called the police, But what could we say? A ghost is after us? They laughed it off as a prank. Exhausted, we crashed on the couch. In my dreams, Amelia revealed more. Her father had discovered her pregnant by the farmhand, Josiah. To protect the family name, Elias locked her in the basement with the cursed box, claiming it would exorcise her sins. But the curse was real. It bound her soul, trapping her in eternal limbo. She died there, buried under the floorboards. Josiah tried to save her, but was killed too. I woke to Sarah shaking me. "Em, look!" The music box was back on the table. We'd left it at the cemetery. Terror gripped us. We had to find the old farm site, now the strip mall. Maybe the basement remnants were there. It was midnight, but we drove anyway, armed with flashlights and shovels from my shed. The strip mall was deserted, a few stores like a nail salon and a pawn shop. Behind it, an overgrown lot led to what looked like old foundation ruins, partially excavated for construction that never happened. We snuck in, hearts racing. In the ruins, we found a crumbling staircase leading down. The air was dank, smelling of mold and earth. At the bottom, a small room, bricks chipped, floor uneven. The melody echoed faintly, guiding us. We pried up loose floorboards. Underneath, bones. Human bones, yellowed with age. A skull with long hair strands. Amelia. As we stared, a gust of wind slammed the door shut above. Footsteps descended, slow, deliberate. The old man from the cemetery appeared, his face revealed, weathered, eyes mad. "You found her," he said, "but the curse passes on." He lunged, but Sarah swung the shovel, cracking his arm. He howled, dropping a knife. We fought, clawing, screaming. I grabbed a loose brick and smashed his head. He crumpled, blood pooling. Panting, we called 911 anonymously from a payphone, then fled. The news the next day: homeless man found dead in ruins, skeletal remains unearthed. They identified the bones as Amelia Whitaker's, solving a century-old mystery. The man, descendant of Elias, guarding the secret. But the music box? It vanished that night. Sometimes I hear the melody in the wind, and the scratching. It never fully stopped. Story 4. I never believed in curses until the night I worked the closing shift at Dollar Tree in Millfield, Ohio. My name's Jake Harlan, 24 years old, fresh out of community college with a business degree that got me nowhere but this dead-end job. Millfield's one of those forgotten dots on the map. Population 600, mostly meth heads and retirees clinging to Social Security. The Dollar Tree sat on the edge of town, next to a boarded-up gas station and a cornfield that stretched into forever. We sold cheap plastic toys, off-brand cereal, and dollar candles that smelled like regret. That night, October 31st, Halloween, the store was a madhouse until 9 p.m. Kids in dollar store masks grabbing fistfuls of candy corn, parents yelling about budgets. By 9:30, it was just me and the flickering fluorescent lights. Manager Cindy had left early for a family thing, leaving me to lock up alone. Routine stuff. Count the drawer, sweep the aisles, flip the sign to closed, but as I dragged the broom down aisle 7, household goods, something caught my eye. A small wooden box tucked behind a stack of yellowing bargain bin books. No price tag, no barcode. It looked antique, carved with weird symbols that didn't match our usual crap. Curiosity got me. I pried it open. Inside, a tarnished silver locket on a chain, engraved with EW 1923. I should have thrown it out. Dollar Tree policy. Anything weird goes in the trash. But it felt heavy, cold, like it held secrets. I pocketed it, figuring I'd pawn it later. Millfield paychecks suck. Around 10 p.m., weird shit started. The lights in ASOL 3, seasonal decorations, buzzed and dimmed, like a dying heartbeat. I flicked the breaker in the back room. Nothing. Then a whisper. Faint, like wind through cracked glass. Return it. I froze. Broom mid-sweep. Heart pounding, I laughed it off. Old store. Drafts from the loading dock. But sweeping toward the front, I saw footprints. Small, bare feet, tracked in mud across the linoleum. Not mine, not Cindy's. We hadn't had customers in an hour. I grabbed my phone, flashlight on, and followed them. They led to the employee bathroom, door ajar. Inside, the mirror was fogged, a child's handprint smeared in the center. Fresh, wet. Backstory hit me like a freight train the next day. I Googled the locket during my lunch break. Nothing. But Millfield had history. In 1923, the town built its first general store on this exact spot. Owned by Elias Whitcomb, a miserly bastard who undercut everyone. Locals said he hoarded cash in his cellar, starving his own kid to save pennies. His daughter, Eliza, 8 years old. She died one Halloween night. Starved, they whispered, though the coroner called it pneumonia. Elias buried her in the woods behind the store. No marker. Store burned down in 1929. Rebuilt twice. Now Dollar Tree. Urban legend? Maybe. But that locket screamed Eliza Whitcomb. I meant to ditch it. Clocked out at 5 p.m., drove my beat-up Ford to the landfill off Route 13, tossed the locket into a pile of trash bags. Felt good, free. That night, home in my trailer off Athens Road, sleep wouldn't come, scratching at the walls, like nails on tin. I bolted up, nothing. Then in the kitchen, my fridge light flickered on. Door was shut. Inside, the locket sat on the shelf, next to my PBRs. Muddy handprints on the handle. Shift the next night, November 1st, was hell. Store empty, rain hammering the roof. Around 8 p.m., a little girl wandered in, pale, maybe 7, in a soaked calico dress that looked 100 years old. No coat, barefoot. "Mama," she lisped, eyes hollow like TV static. I knelt. "Hey, kid, you lost, huh? What's your name?" "Eliza," she said, voice echoing unnaturally. Grabbed my wrist, ice cold. "You took it. Give it back." She vanished. Blinked and gone. Aisle 9, party supplies. Streamers swaying like she'd run through them. No door chime, no footprints. I called the cops. Sheriff Daniels laughed. "Halloween pranks, Jake. Millfield ghosts are for tourists." But the security cam caught it. Grainy footage. Girl materializes at 8:02, stares at me, poofs. I showed Cindy next morning. She bleached the hard drive. Don't spook the customers. Locket burned a hole in my pocket. I'd grabbed it from the fridge before work. Desperate to end this. By midnight, store silent except the hum of coolers. I chained the front doors, lit a dollar candle in aisle 12, and opened the box on the counter. Symbols glowed faintly. I whispered, "Eliza, take it. I'm sorry." Lights died, total black. Then giggles, child's laughter, bouncing off shelves. Footsteps pattering, left, right, behind. I spun, phone light shaking. Shadows twisted, tiny figures darting between bins of cheap socks and fake flowers. A whisper in my ear. "Daddy kept it from me. Shiny thing. Mine." Backstory flooded my mind, unbidden. Elias locked the locket in his safe. Eliza's only toy, a gift from her dead mom. He dangled it to make her work, starving her till she wasted away. On her last night, she stole it, ran to the woods. He chased, beat her, buried her with it clenched in her fist. Curse born. Anyone who takes her locket feeds her hunger. Forever. Candles flared, dozens lining the aisles, melting wax into puddles. Not my doing. The store transformed. Shelves groaned, bending like ribs. Plastic spiders from Halloween crawled real, skittering up my legs. I bolted for the back exit, locked. Chain rattled like it laughed. Eliza appeared at the end of aisle 4, translucent, dress rotting, eyes black pits. "Play with me, Jake, like Daddy did." She held out bony hands. The air thickened, smelling of dirt and decay. I swung the broom, passed through her. She giggled, closer now, breath like grave mold. Flashback visions assaulted me. 1923, Elias dragging Eliza by the hair through this store, locking her in the cellar with rats. "Earn your keep," her screams as she clawed the door, locket around her neck. Fire in 1929. Elias burned alive, screaming her name. Curse sealed. I smashed a window in the stockroom, glass shattered, but cold hands yanked me back. Hours blurred, or minutes, time warped. Eliza multiplied, dozens of her, tugging my clothes, whispering promises. Stay, play, forever. Flesh peeled from their faces, revealing skulls grinning with dollar store teeth. I fought to the front, locket in hand. Forced it open. Inside, a faded photo. Eliza smiling before the hunger. Rage twisted her tiny features. Mine! Thunder cracked outside. No storm forecast. Shelves toppled, bearing me in avalanches of cheap china and cereal boxes. Pinned, I saw her truth. Not just hunger for food, but for life stolen. Every taker since, clerks, owners, vanished. Locals whispered Millfield disappearances, blamed meth or wolves. Truth, Eliza's playmates trapped eternal in the store's bones. Sheriff Daniels' cruiser pulled up. Routine check. I screamed, pounding the glass. He squinted, shrugged, drove off. Windows intact from outside. Invisible prison. Dawn leaked gray light. But inside, midnight eternal. Eliza perched on the counter, swinging bare feet. You're fun, Jake. Better than Daddy. I clutched the locket, final gambit. Take it. End this. Threw it at her feet. She snatched it, necklace snapping around her neck. Smiled, real for a second, then frowned. Too late. You saw. Now you stay. Store reset. Lights buzzed on. 9 p.m. register, broom in hand. Footprints appeared. Mine this time, leading to the bathroom mirror. My reflection? Hollow eyes, calico dress peeking from my collar. Cindy called from the office. Jake? Closing tonight? Yeah, I whispered, voice lisping small. I'll play. Page 9, epilogue, tease, bonus for grip. Next morning, a trucker found my Ford abandoned at the landfill. Sheriff searched. No trace. Dollar Tree reopened. New clerk. Some kid from Athens. He pocketed a wooden box from Acel 7. Millfield forgets, but the whispers don't. Story 5. I never thought a simple job at Dollar Tree would unravel my life, but looking back, the signs were there from the start. My name is Emily Carter, and I moved to Elmwood, Pennsylvania about 2 years ago. It's a sleepy town nestled in the Allegheny foothills, the kind of place where everyone knows your business, and the biggest excitement is the annual county fair. I came here to escape the chaos of Philadelphia, where I'd lost everything. My marketing job during the layoffs, my apartment when the rent skyrocketed, and my fiancé, Mark, who decided he preferred his secretary. Broken, heartbroken, I packed what little I had into my beat-up Honda Civic and drove west, landing in Elmwood because my Aunt Linda lived there. She offered me her spare room until I got on my feet. Aunt Linda worked at the local library, and she was the one who tipped me off about the opening at the Dollar Tree on Main Street. It's not glamorous, Em, she said over coffee one morning, but it's steady work. Night shift stocking shelves. Pays the bills. I wasn't picky. At 28, I just needed something to keep me busy, to drown out the silence in my head. The store was a typical Dollar Tree, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, aisles crammed with cheap toys, cleaning supplies, and seasonal junk. The manager, Mr. Harlan, a grizzled guy in his 50s with a perpetual scowl, hired me on the spot. We need reliable people, he grunted. Show up at 10 p.m. sharp. Don't mind the creaks. The building's old. That first night I arrived early, parking in the empty lot under a flickering street lamp. The store sat at the edge of town, backed by a dense patch of woods that locals called Blackthorn Forest. Rumors swirled about it, old mining accidents from the 1800s, disappearances during Prohibition, but I dismissed them as small-town folklore. Inside, the air was stale, like someone had forgotten to air out a basement. My co-worker Javier Ruiz, a lanky guy from nearby Pittsburgh, showed me the ropes. Stock the shelves, rotate the stock, clean up spills. Easy peasy, he said with a grin. Just watch out for the bargain bin in aisle 5. Stuff falls out all the time. We worked in relative quiet, the only sounds being the hum of the fridge units and the occasional thud of boxes. Around midnight, Javier headed to the break room for a smoke, leaving me alone in the party supplies aisle. That's when I heard it first, a soft whisper, like wind through leaves, but inside. I froze, straining my ears. Hello, I called out, feeling foolish. No answer. Shrugging it off as the AC kicking in, I continued stacking birthday candles. But then a pack of balloons tumbled from the top shelf, bursting open on the floor. I jumped, heart racing. Javier, that you? Silence. I cleaned it up, but unease settled in my gut like bad coffee. Over the next few weeks, the job became routine, but the oddities piled up. Items would rearrange themselves overnight. Cans of soup facing backward, toys lined up like soldiers on the floor. Javier laughed it off. Probably kids messing around before close. But I wasn't convinced. One night, while mopping the entrance, I glanced at the security camera feed in the back office. The store had a basic setup, 4 cameras covering the main areas. On camera 3, which overlooked the seasonal aisle, I saw a shadow flit across the screen. Too quick to be a person, too solid to be nothing. I rewound the tape, but it was gone. Glitch, Mr. Harlan said when I mentioned it. These things are ancient. Curiosity gnawed at me. During my days off, I visited Aunt Linda at the library and dug into Elmwood's history. The town was founded in 1842 around coal mines, but Blackthorn Forest had a darker past. In the 1920s, it housed a makeshift sanatorium for tuberculosis patients, run by a Dr. Elias Thorne. The facility was rudimentary, a cluster of cabins where the afflicted were quarantined, left to cough their lungs out in isolation. Dozens died there, their bodies buried in unmarked graves to prevent contagion spread. When the mines closed in the 50s, the land was sold cheap, and in 1987, the Dollar Tree was built right over the old sanatorium site. They bulldozed the cabins, Aunt Linda whispered, showing me faded newspaper clippings. But folks say they didn't move all the bodies. Superstition, mostly. I laughed it off then, but that night at work, the whispers returned. Louder this time, echoing from the stockroom. Help! Us! I spun around, flashlight in hand. Mr. Harlan had us use them during power flickers, which happened often. The stockroom was a maze of boxes, dimly lit by a single bulb. As I ventured deeper, a chill wrapped around me, unnatural for July. At the far end near the emergency exit, I found an old trapdoor in the floor, half hidden under pallets. It was padlocked, rusted with age. What's down there? I asked Javier later. He paled. Basement storage. Harlan says it's off limits, flooded or something. Don't mess with it. But I couldn't let it go. The backstory of the sanatorium haunted my dreams. Pale faces peering from cabin windows, ragged breaths in the night. I started noticing patterns. The disturbances always peaked around 2 a.m., the hour when, according to records, night nurses at the sanatorium did their rounds. One shift while restocking Halloween decorations, early for the season, I felt a tug on my sleeve. I whirled, but no one was there. Then a child's laughter tinkled from aisle 7, where the toys were. Heart pounding, I crept over. A doll, one of those cheap plastic ones with painted eyes, lay on the floor, its head twisted backward. As I picked it up, its eyes seemed to follow me. Javier, I yelled. He came running, but by then, the doll was normal. You're working too hard, Em, he said, concerned. Take a day off. I should have listened, but the suspense was building, pulling me in like a riptide. I began researching Dr. Thorne. He was a controversial figure, accused of experimental treatments, injecting patients with untested serums to cure them faster. Many died horribly, convulsing in agony. His own daughter Amelia succumbed at age 10, buried on the grounds. The sanatorium shut down after a fire in 1931, killing the remaining patients. Thorne vanished, presumed dead in the blaze. Online forums, ghost hunting sites, mentioned Elmwood Dollar Tree as a hotspot. Anonymous posts claimed employees heard cries, saw apparitions. One user, Shadow Seeker 89, wrote, "The basement holds the key, don't go alone." Against my better judgment, I decided to investigate. The next night, after Javier left early for a family emergency, I was alone. Mr. Harlan had given me the keys, trusting me now. At 1:45 a.m., I grabbed bolt cutters from the hardware aisle, ironic using store tools for this, and headed to the stockroom. The padlock snapped with a metallic crack that echoed too loudly. Lifting the trap door, a wave of musty air hit me, laced with something metallic, like blood. Stairs descended into darkness, wooden and creaky. My flashlight beam revealed cobwebs and puddles on a dirt floor below. I descended slowly, each step groaning under my weight. The basement was larger than expected, stretching under the entire store. Old crates lined the walls, labeled with faded ink. Medical supplies, Thorne Sanatorium. My skin crawled. In the center, a rusted metal table stood, straps dangling like limp snakes, perhaps an examination table. As I approached, the whispers intensified, surrounding me. "Stay! With us!" I spun, light dancing wildly. Shadows shifted in the corners, coalescing into shapes. Thin figures in tattered gowns, eyes hollow. Panic rising, I backed toward the stairs. That's when I saw it. A small skeleton, child-sized, half buried in the dirt near the wall. A locket hung from its neck, engraved with Amelia Thorne. Horror froze me. Was this the doctor's daughter? Before I could react, the trapdoor slammed shut above me, plunging the basement into near-total darkness. My flashlight flickered, then died. Scrabbling in the black, I pounded on the door, screaming for help. But the store was empty. The air grew thicker, colder. Hands, icy, skeletal, grabbed my ankles, pulling me down. I kicked free, heart slamming. Whispers turned to wails, filling my ears. "Join us! Emily!" How did they know my name? In desperation, I fumbled for my phone. No signal. Using its weak light, I searched the crates. Inside one, yellow journals, Dr. Thorne's notes. Flipping through, I read of his madness. After Amelia's death, he experimented on himself, injecting a serum for immortality. "The souls linger," he wrote. "They bind to the land, seeking vessels." A noise above, the trap door creaking open. Relief flooded me. "Javier? Harlan?" But no one answered. Instead, a figure descended. Tall, gaunt, in a white coat stained with age. Dr. Thorne? Impossible. He'd be over a century old. His face was a mask of decay, eyes glowing faintly. "You've found us," he rasped, voice like gravel. "Now stay." I bolted past him, shoving with all my strength. He stumbled, and I scrambled up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. Racing through the store, I burst into the night, collapsing in the parking lot. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have heard my screams? No, I hadn't called anyone. Looking back, the store's lights flickered, then went dark. The police arrived minutes later, tipped off by an anonymous call. They found the basement empty. No skeletons, no journals, no trapdoor even. Just a flooded crawl space. "Overactive imagination," the officer said kindly. Mr. Harlan fired me the next day, citing mental instability. Javier avoided my calls. Aunt Linda urged me to leave town, but I couldn't. The whispers followed me home, faint at first, then louder. Weeks passed. I got a job at a diner, trying to forget. But one evening, browsing online, I saw a news article. Elmwood Dollar Tree closed after employee disappearance. Javier was missing. His last text to his wife, "Something's in the basement." Chills ran down my spine. That night, as I lay in bed, the whispers returned. "Emily, come back." I sat up, staring at the dollar store candle on my nightstand, one I'd taken home. Its flame danced unnaturally, casting shadows that formed faces. Amelia's locket appeared in my drawer, though I'd never touched it. The serum, the souls, they weren't bound to the land. They were in the items, the cheap trinkets sold for $1, carrying pieces of the past. I drove back to the store, now boarded up. Breaking in, I descended once more. The basement was there, waiting. Thorne stood amid the crates, smiling. "You understand now. The bargain is eternal." As the hands pulled me down, I realized the horror. Dollar Tree wasn't just a store, it was a trap, dispersing cursed relics across America, $1 at a time, and I was the latest vessel. Story 6. I never thought a simple job at Dollar Tree would turn my life into a nightmare. My name is Emily Carter, and I grew up in Milford, a sleepy town in rural Ohio, where the biggest excitement is the annual county fair. Population barely scrapes 5,000, with cornfields stretching out like endless yellow seas and the old steel mill looming on the outskirts like a forgotten skeleton. The mill shut down back in the 80s after a tragic accident. Rumors say a fire killed dozens of workers, but the company covered it up. Bodies were never fully accounted for, or so the old-timers whisper over coffee at the diner. Anyway, fast forward to last summer, 2025. I was 22, fresh out of community college with a useless associate's degree in business, drowning in student loans. Jobs were scarce in Milford, so when the Dollar Tree on Elm Street posted a "Help Wanted" sign for the night shift, I jumped at it. Little did I know that store wasn't just selling cheap snacks and plastic toys. It was hiding something far darker. The store manager, Mr. Harlan, was a gruff guy in his 50s with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and a limp from some Vietnam-era injury. He hired me on the spot, saying, "We need reliable folks for closing. It's quiet, but watch the stockroom. Stuff gets misplaced easy." I started the next evening, 6 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Friday. The store was your typical Dollar Tree, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, aisles crammed with everything from greeting cards to knockoff cleaning supplies. Customers were mostly locals, farmers grabbing batteries, moms with kids in tow buying candy. Nothing out of the ordinary. But on my first night, as I stocked shelves in the back, I felt it. A chill that didn't come from the AC. The stockroom was dimly lit, with boxes piled high, and that faint, musty smell like old paper. I shrugged it off. New job jitters, right? A week in, things started getting weird. It was around 10 p.m., store mostly empty except for a couple stragglers. I was at the register when I heard a soft thud from aisle 3, the party supplies section. I figured a balloon display had fallen, but when I went to check, nothing was out of place. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow dart behind the end cap. "Hello?" I called out, heart picking up. No answer. I laughed it off, blaming the late hour. That night as I locked up, I swore I heard whispering outside the doors, like muffled voices arguing in the parking lot. But it was empty, just my beat-up Honda Civic under the sodium lamps. The backstory to all this? I dug into it later. But let's rewind. Milford's Dollar Tree wasn't always there. The lot used to be part of the old Harlan Steel Mill. Yeah, named after Mr. Harlan's family. His grandfather owned it. The fire in '83 was no accident. Locals say it was sabotage. Union workers were striking for better pay, and the owners locked them in during a night shift to teach a lesson. A spark from faulty wiring turned it into an inferno. Official reports claimed 12 dead, but whispers put it at over 30. Bodies charred beyond recognition, some never found. The mill was demolished in the 90s, and the land sat vacant until Dollar Tree bought it cheap in 2010. Mr. Harlan? He was the one who sold the parcel. Family land, cursed land, some say. He took the manager job as a twisted way to stay connected, or maybe out of guilt. I learned this from old Mrs. Wilkins at the library, who showed me yellowed newspaper clippings. "Stay away from that place after dark, dear," she warned. "The lost ones don't like being forgotten." By my second month, the incidents escalated. One Tuesday, I was restocking the toy aisle when a pack of plastic army men fell off the shelf right in front of me. No breeze, no earthquake, just tumbled like an invisible hand pushed it. I bent to pick them up, and that's when I saw it. One of the tiny soldiers had its head twisted backward, like it was staring at me. Creepy, but I tossed it in the damaged bin. That night, closing alone, Mr. Harlan left early for personal reasons. The lights flickered. Not the whole store, just the back half, near the stockroom. I grabbed the keys, pulse racing, and headed to the breaker box. As I flipped the switch, I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, like work boots on concrete. They echoed from the stockroom door, which I'd left ajar. "Who's there?" I yelled, voice cracking. Silence. I peeked in, flashlight from my phone sweeping the shadows. Boxes were rearranged, not how I'd left them. They formed a rough circle in the middle of the floor, with a single dollar bill in the center, crumpled and old, dated 1983. I didn't sleep that night. Dreams plagued me. Faceless men in overalls, screaming as flames licked their skin, pounding on locked doors. The next day I confronted Mr. Harlan. "Something's wrong with the store. I said, showing him a photo of the box circle on my phone. He went pale, limp more pronounced as he paced. Old building quirks, he muttered. Don't stir up trouble, Emily. You need this job. But his eyes darted to the stockroom like he knew. That afternoon, I hit the internet at the public library. Milford didn't have great Wi-Fi at home. Forums on haunted Ohio sites mentioned the mill. Residual energy, one user posted. Workers' spirits trapped, reliving the lock-in. Another claimed sightings at the Dollar Tree. Shadows, whispers, even a man in singed clothes browsing late at night. One post chilled me. They want repayment. $1 for each soul lost. Suspicion gnawed at me. Why did Mr. Harlan stay? Guilt, or something more? I started noticing patterns. The weird stuff always happened after 10 p.m. when the store emptied. Items related to work, tools, gloves, cheap flashlights, would go missing, only to reappear in the stockroom. One night, a customer complained about that rude employee in the back, but I was the only one on shift. He described a guy in dirty overalls, face smudged with soot, muttering about fair wages. I played it cool, but inside, panic brewed. Then came the turning point. It was a stormy Thursday in October, rain lashing the windows like angry fingers. Power outages were common in Milford, but that night, the lights held, barely. I was mopping up a spill in aisle 5 when the PA system crackled to life. No one uses it after hours, it's for announcements only. Static hissed, then a voice, low, gravelly, distorted. Locked in. Pay up. Harlan. My blood froze. I ran to the office, yanked the plug, nothing. The voice continued, looping. $30, 30 souls. I grabbed my phone to call Mr. Harlan, but the signal was dead. Thunder boomed, and in the flash of lightning, I saw him. A silhouette at the end of the aisle. Tall, broad-shouldered, clothes tattered and burned. He didn't move, just stood there watching. I bolted for the front doors, keys jingling, but they wouldn't budge. Locked from the outside? No, I had the only set. Panic surged as the figure stepped forward, boots thudding. The air grew hot like an oven, sweat beating on my skin. Whispers multiplied. Dozens of voices now, overlapping. Trapped? Fire? Betrayal? I remembered the legends. The workers were locked in by Harlan's grandfather, who pocketed insurance money after the blaze. Repayment. I fumbled in my pocket, pulled out my wallet, $30 exactly from tips earlier. Trembling, I tossed the bills toward the shadow. Take it, I screamed. The figure paused, then dissolved into smoke as the doors clicked open. Rain poured in as I fled to my car, engine roaring to life. But it wasn't over. The next morning, Mr. Harlan didn't show. Police found him in the stockroom, dead from a heart attack, or so they said. Face twisted in terror, clutched in his hand, 30 crumpled dollar bills, all dated 1983. The store closed for investigation, but nothing turned up. Natural causes, the report read. I quit, moved to Columbus for a desk job. But sometimes, in quiet moments, I hear whispers, and I never shop at Dollar Tree again. That was my story, as real as the scars on my psyche. If you're in Milford, steer clear of Elm Street after dark. You might hear the thud of boots, feel the heat of forgotten flames. And if you do, check your wallet. You might owe more than you think.